Everything you need to know about 1984, Part 2, Chapter 5. So, the first thing we're told in this chapter is that Syme has disappeared. And if you remember, this was the guy Winston worked with that was revising the Newspeak Dictionary. And in that earlier chapter, Winston had said that at some point Syme would be vaporized. Now, he's gone. No one says he's gone. There's just no trace of him. There's no documentation that he even existed. Even the list for the chess club that he was on has him missing. He's just erased. The weather was super hot, and the pace of preparing for Hate Week is at full tilt. Winston time is spent in making all of the past events that are going to be used in speeches more intense and more graphic, right? More rocket bombs are going off than usual, and people are on edge. They're all hyped up. There's this new harsh hate song that's out, that's being endlessly played. Decorations are going up everywhere. Winston comments on this new poster of a giant Eurasian soldier that is everywhere, even more so than Big Brother's posters, and the barrel of his gun is pointing at you no matter where you stand. So Winston notes that the rocket bombs are also seeming to kill more people than normal. One blew up out on a crowded theater with hundreds in attendance. Another was on a playground with children. So there's angry demonstrations, there's marches, there's looting. It's just kind of super worked up. So it's June, and we're told that Winston and Julia had met in the room 7 times. And even though the rat hadn't returned, because of the heat, the bugs are everywhere. Winston is actually doing well physically. He's not drinking all the time. His varicose ulcer on his leg has disappeared. He's gained weight. He's not coughing up his lungs every morning. Even mentally, he's not going mad fighting these thoughts about the party, wanting to scream and curse at the telescreen. Having the room, even if they couldn't use it all the time, and when they do use it, there's only small spaces of time they can be there. Just having the room itself is comforting, right? Winston feels like the room and the shop owner, who he chats with a lot whenever he comes, kind of our preserved space in the past. It's almost like a time capsule that he can go sit in. Winston and Julia know this can't last, that they're going to be caught. But while they're in the room, for some reason they feel safe, right? They daydream of escaping, or that Winston's wife would die and they could somehow manipulate things and get married. They would also talk about rebelling against the party, but they really have no way to do so. They can't think of any way to actually do so, right? Winston crazily just wants to go up to O'Brien and announce that he's an enemy of the party and ask O'Brien to help him. Julia surprisingly doesn't think that that's as nuts as it sounds, because she sees, in O'Brien's face that maybe he is open, or maybe he is different. And she actually believes that everyone inside actually hates the party. However, she thinks that the stories about Goldstein and the Brotherhood and any resistance are actually fake. She doesn't believe it. That she thinks the party invented these things to have an enemy to turn people towards. To her, the party is. It just can't be beat. We're told that Julia is actually more perceptive than Winston, that she's more immune to the party's propaganda. She doesn't really think that there's a war going on, and that the party itself is who is dropping bombs on Oceania for its own purposes. She also tells Winston that she tries not to laugh during the 2 minutes hate. What shocks Winston is that she doesn't question, though, the history that was put out by the party, right? She believes that she was taught by the party that the party invented airplanes and that the party had switched who they were at war with. She doesn't think that they've ever been at war with anybody else, and she just believes that Winston knows for a fact that there were airplanes before the revolution. So to Julia, what's actually the truth really doesn't make much difference to her. She doesn't care. She also thinks nothing of it that Winston commits forgery all the time. To her, what difference does it make? There's always people killed, and there's always war. She's only interested in rebelling when it comes to her own life and what she can get away with. To Winston, people like Julia, who do not question or think deeply, they have the easiest time dealing with how the government can manipulate reality because they don't really get it. So what do we get from this chapter? Really, this chapter is about probing the extent those in power will go to hold on to their power, to flex their power, right? To manipulate people's information and to manipulate people's perception in order to suit their own ends, what they want to achieve. Julia insinuates that Even the wars and bombing is actually the party focusing the energy and anger of the people against an outside threat. So they've made up the war and they bomb the people themselves, right? With the party slogan being war is peace, having an enemy to hate and making the people sacrifice comfort and necessities to help the cause, to fight the enemy, right? The government keeps any unrest or any anger that would be directed at the party for the conditions, it keeps it focused outside. It actually unites the people under the party and focuses them on an outside enemy. Now, it makes sense when we're told that as Hate Week gets closer, there are more bombings, there's more people killed, including children, and more rumors to get people worked up and paranoid. It's the party potentially working up people to really have this powerful hate week where they focus on the enemy. We know that tyrannical dictatorships feed their people propaganda. They exaggerate enemies in order to escalate fear and rally for government support, right? How many dictatorships have used the United States as the great threat or the great enemy? But this chapter also makes us question what we see and read with the events happening around us. I mean, think about it. How many conspiracy theories are there about events like 9/11? Orwell makes us question what we're told through the news and the media and by the government, making us wonder what exactly is the truth and what is manipulation for someone's political agenda or someone's desire for power. It makes us kind of re-examine those in power and what they're trying to achieve and if they're telling the truth or really just trying to manipulate us. It's interesting thoughts and interesting questions in this chapter. If you have any questions or anything to say, in the comment box down below. Thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll see you for chapter 6.